Jason, we're here at the beach. This is where you sleep.
Yes. I've been homeless for the past year or so, and this is a place where I kind of made my home base, if you will, where I tend to gravitate to wherever, whenever I'm done with work or whatever things that I have to do to make my resources or make my ends meet. This is pretty much where I'll be. It's part of my routine.
But
If
you have a
anything.
job.
Yeah, I have a full-time job. I actually put in a 14-hour shift yesterday, worked a double shift. Yeah, I work. I don't do drugs. I don't do alcohol. I go to work. I just don't have a home.
Well, that shouldn't be.
I agree. Things have been a little bit tough for me arriving into LA, a lot tougher than I thought it was. Wage-wise also was a big surprise. It seems like for jobs that people would be willing to pay quality money for, people really aren't willing to pay that type of money. Probably aside from like Hollywood and who you know to a certain extent, but as far as, my experience with coming to LA, I mean, it just fell on tough times in between work. And I just realized when you come to LA and you can't make your ends meet from 1 week to the next. I mean, there's no sympathy here at all.
Yeah, but people are going to say, so first off, I think it's that way everywhere. I mean, bigger cities, there is a higher cost of living, but there's also more opportunity. You know what I mean? When you go to a city where there's better rent, there ain't as many jobs.
Yeah, my experience, like in Seattle, for instance, way before the $15 minimum wage, I could make $15 what I was doing, where like even with this wage, I'm barely able to make 15, and I have to fight tooth and nail to do the same job with experience. And it just seems like people are not willing to pay you what you deserve, and that makes it tough with the rent and everything.
Okay.
The combination, because you do have the higher rents in other cities, but here it seems like you got the high rent. But
what people are going to say is then move.
Well, then move. Yeah, it would be nice to. I'd like to get back to Seattle, but the thing is, you need money to do these things.
Right.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, they say move, but how do you get first and last and moving expense? You're just homeless in Seattle or homeless in St. Louis.
Yeah, and one thing even a friend of mine has told me is that you have to always be where your money's at, and maybe that's one of the big mistakes there. But I don't know, I don't want to stray into my personal stuff too much, but long story short, I've been away from my family for 10 years. My dad's on dialysis, so, I mean, his days are numbered. My sister, she has two nieces. One of them's 15 that I hadn't seen in 10 years, so I went from seeing her from 5 years old to 15 years old, and I just felt like I had to come back and see them while I can before it was too late. And, I just kind of slipped in between gigs, and I ended up here. My family doesn't know I'm homeless because it would just break their hearts. So I'm doing this, hoping to get on my feet this next year so that they don't have to know that I went through this. You know?
Now, but you're cool doing the video.
Yeah, I'm fine doing the video.
You contacted me.
Actually, I was reluctant, like you saw at first. I thought about it, but, I really like what you're doing because I think people have a lot of misconceptions about, what goes on. And there's truth. There's a lot of people that are out, on the streets and stuff like that who have been on the streets for a long time. But not everybody, and also a lot of those people that are on the streets, they have real human issues. We're dealing with the human crisis.
Right.
This is a human crisis I actually saw in Seattle, and I thought it was only in Seattle until I got back and I saw the same RVs parked in the street. And that's when I really realized there was a nationwide contrast, and I became part of that same that crisis.
Right.
And I think people need to start recognizing this is a human issue that's taking across around the country to people who have master's degrees in different fields, who have had millions of dollars in their pockets, who just got their houses foreclosed on, really, who have run up on bad situations. There are true. Some people have ended up with serious drug addictions. Some people are mentally ill. A lot of the people out here are military, served their country, and then just got left hanging to dry. So,
now you've been out here for a year.
I've been out here for a good solid year, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you're working full time.
It's crazy.
I mean, you worked a 14-hour shift yesterday.
Yeah. And only, I did land some other gigs in between, like I was an opening team for a restaurant that you know, it's a very prestigious restaurant in Beverly Hills. $1,000 for a party of 4 and whatnot. Opening team working 80-hour weeks, 60-hour weeks and whatnot and stuff like that. And if the only downfall I had is that because I was so used to being on the street, to finally get a hotel room, I spent my money on hotel rooms, and then, you know, then I ended up in, you know, back on the street, because I mean it's just so hard to kind of be out there. But lessons learned, I just got to stick it up, be in the cold, you know. I sleep out in the cold
and get a place again.
Yeah.
But you were talking earlier, I mean, what people don't understand, it's tough to get a shower and then go to work.
Exactly.
And people know that, you know, oh my gosh, my coworker smells.
If people are being honest with themselves, they know they don't want to hire someone that's homeless if they come in looking homeless or whatnot. So you really have to do your best to not look that way and not let them know, you know. And there's real situations that come with being homeless. That means having your possessions with you. I mean, all your possessions, you know, with you, because if you leave them somewhere, the likelihood of them getting stolen is almost certain.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So,
and
like,
that's one of the big things.
You got to carry all your stuff with you.
Yeah, and that's something people don't think about. You go to a job interview, and then you're thinking about, okay, my sleeping bag, my blankets for the night, I'm going to put them, stash them in this place, and cross my fingers and hope that they don't get stolen. That actually happened to me when I was working the Beverly Hills job. I didn't have any storage at that time because I had no money to even have a storage. So I was crossing my fingers, and I found a good spot for about a week. And then sure enough, one day I came back and all my clothes were stolen, and I had to spend a good month or so living in my work clothes because, you know, I mean,
so now,
you know, you don't get paid for like 3 weeks too. You know, if you're on 2 week, you know,
we don't make it easy for people to get out of homelessness.
I mean, and not only that, you know, I asked for transportation, bus things and stuff like that. There were no services available for me to even get tokens or a bus pass, even though I got a job and needed to get to work and I had to prove to it. The city would not give me a bus pass to simply get to work, and I had to figure those things out on myself.
Right.
And I didn't panhandle to do it. I was lucky enough to have friends to give me tokens or whatnot.
Right.
Through, I can't even remember how. It was just a twist of fate or whatever, or luck or whatnot.
So now how we met is you were in line going to the winter shelter.
Yeah, you actually caught me on one of the rare days where I sleep in the shelter, because when I work, I don't go to the shelter because you're supposed to be there like around 5:30ish or early hour. So if you have any job that doesn't allow you to get there at about 5 o'clock, you're not going to be let into a shelter. Maybe that's something people don't know about that. Yeah. But, you know, I work evening shifts, and even when I get out in the daytime, I get out of work at about 4 o'clock if I work a daytime shift. And by the time I would get back to this area, it'd be 6 o'clock, and there's no bus to pick me up. And so, you know, I sleep outside anyway.
Right.
The day I saw you was actually my day off, and you saw me. You know, I'll often sleep about 2 hours a night. I'm kind of used to like lack of sleep. You know, the cold wakes you up, if anything, in the wintertime for sure.
Sleep deprivation.
4:30, yeah. You know, you know, luckily I take care of my health, and I don't, you know, I'm not an alcoholic, so I think the healthy foods I eat, that I choose, you know, that I choose to find or whatever, or eat or use my food stamps on, you know, I spend it on healthy food, and I think that really takes care of me. But and I happen to have health on my side. So I mean, so I mean that works for me. Some people aren't so fortunate.
Yeah, well, so I mean, people think it's hard to explain because I've worked the winter shelter.
Yeah.
And in many ways, the winter shelter is a blessing, but also, I mean, it's not conducive to anybody getting their life back together.
Yeah, there's nothing there that's really
it's
encouraging. And off camera we're talking about how sometimes even though I have the chance to go, I don't go for simply that reason, because you feel like, and I've talked to people who have been in prison, and they said that it feels like being back in prison.
Yeah.
You know, you have these people just barking and yelling at you, and you know,
you got to stand in line for everything. You kicked out early in the morning.
Stand in line for hours for everything.
Hours for everything.
You know, you stand in line for 2 hours to get onto a bus. To stand in line for 2 hours to get admitted, and then you're up at 4:30 in the morning. You're kicked out, and nothing's ever consistent. They'll tell you one thing about how many buses are going to show up, but then next thing you know, that wasn't true.
Right.
They tell you there's going to be 2 buses. You find out there's only 1 bus. You find out,
and then you wasted your day, because that was used to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Because it was first come, first serve. But if you didn't get there in time, like if you had a job, and now you're waiting in line and you don't get inside, you've wasted the time that you would find in some place that's safe.
You know, like just last week, we caught the shelter bus to where you usually catch to your regular drop-off point, and there were people with jobs, had to get to the job in the morning, that and they usually should stop at Santa Monica Beach around here. I'm not sure exactly, but there's a Santa Monica stop, for example. And for some reason, the bus driver was either directed to or chose willingly not to stop there. And those people who were counting on getting to the work from the expo line or whatever, totally missed their opportunity. We had to at least, it's an hour walk at least an hour from the drop-off point to get back to that spot if they needed to do that. And you know, there's a lot of things that really make it hard for someone to even keep a job for that.
Right. So you got off of work around 5.
Yes, actually today I got off of work around 4:30ish.
And then you took a bus here.
Yeah,
and now you're gonna grab your tent, sleeping bag. What do you do?
Well, no, maybe not tonight. It just depends on whether I find my. I pretty much got everything I have tonight. And like last night, I have one small little yellow blanket that so a small little throwish blanket. Yeah, I'm not gonna carry all that stuff. It just looks horrible going to work with a big duffel bag where I keep my real camping stuff. But if I get in contact with my friend tonight, like usually I hear from him like in a couple hours from now. Depending on where he's at, I might sleep in his car, or if he has things to do, I might get my bag. But there's also the likelihood that we won't be able to meet up tonight, and it's pretty likely that I'm going to sleep out what I have, find some boxes, lay out my tarp that I have, and just and
then you get up in the morning and you go to work.
I do have a place, a resource center where I could go take my shower. Where I do have to wait a couple hours to get my shower, get a good meal, which thankfully for some of these centers actually provide that out here. Very
now,
thankfully.
Do you go to St. Joseph's or?
Yes. St. Joseph's is actually where I go. So you know about St. Joseph's. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much the only thing here.
Yeah, St. Joseph's, and thankfully they got bread and roses.
Right.
And I get my meal there because it's a hot, actual nutritional meal.
Yeah.
That keeps me, from, able to main,
So what would you want people to know about homelessness that they probably don't know? I mean, first off, you've got a full-time job and you're homeless.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one. But what would you? Because people stereotype homelessness.
Yeah, I think you don't be so quick to say you got anybody's figured out that's going through a hard time, because they've probably been through more stuff than you can even imagine. Right. There's some, whether you agree with the war or not, there are people who have defended themselves front line of this country, saved other people's lives. There are people who have lived, done things right, just happen to lose their job, happen to be a victim of a predatory loan. I know a school teacher out here who lost her house and got foreclosed on. These things happen to good, hardworking people. You get to, you don't just assume that everyone's out here for the same reason. Yeah. Even if they are on drugs, why are they on drugs? Were they on drugs before they even got out here?
Right.
Because it's very mentally straining out here, and you see people literally, particularly I just have to say women, literally within a month will begin to lose their sanity if they're not strong enough to be out here. Yeah. Literally talking to themselves. I mean, really,
it's tough. It's
just so tough
for everybody, but I think women have it because they get abused.
Because they're so exactly. Because they're so they're definitely like people see
vulnerable.
Oh, they're so vulnerable right there. People see them through prostitution, a way to make money, or a lot of people. If they could get them hooked on drugs, then they could have them in the palm of their hand.
People don't understand. I mean, people abuse drugs to
Medicaid or cope or
pain.
something like that.
And
I feel
homelessness is hell. You don't want
it's extremely for months on end, every single day, laying on the floor. It's like really that moment that you're gonna do this is really, I would ask myself that question, like, I'm actually doing this, like really, like just like that. It wasn't like I got used to it. It took a real while for me to be like, okay, yeah, this is what it is. It was really like looking at this floor, like this is what it's come to, and not even really. It's like, wow, like I can't even believe that I'm having to do this day after day after day after day, because
sleeping on the ground.
That's tough. And then especially when you're out here, because you don't know anything. You don't know who to trust. You don't know how dangerous it is. You don't know how regular people are going to treat you. Because I remember last year there were people setting tents on fire with people sleeping on them, like on the strip of the street. People were blowing up RVs. I remember seeing in Silmar, for example.
Yeah.
Someone got acid thrown in their face in Highland Park.
Yeah.
3 people got stabbed within a week right here on this beach, Santa Monica, right here. Yeah. And then there's countless things that happen on Venice Beach right there that don't ever even make the news.
Yeah.
A horrible thing. Some guy drove a car down the boardwalk and hit regular people.
Yeah.
And aside from the homeless, there's just so many. But besides that, it's just so mentally tolling, because your senses are just drained.
Well, let's hope you get out of this soon.
Well, thank you, and I believe I will. I learned what it takes to really get out of here on my own. I'm not one of those people, for some of you, that think I'm just trying to mooch out the system and like to eat at bread and roses. I really don't want to do any Section 8 whatever. I really want to pay my rent and get all this. And I don't think there's any wrong with somebody who takes advantage of those resources to do it. But I'm trying to do it my own, and I'm sure I will. Very soon, at least within the next few months, I'll definitely be out the streets on my own. And you know what? Just don't be so quick to judge. This is a human issue we're dealing with as well.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. People are going through a lot of pain right here, and just be mindful of that, and get to know them. If you really want to know, then ask. I'll just say personally, when people say, I don't get why, I kind of feel like, well, did you really want to find an answer? Or are you just saying that kind of like...
Do you really want to know the human condition that got to homeless?
Yeah, when you're saying, I don't get why, are you really looking for an answer? Ask yourself that question. Wow. And if, and maybe you'll find some answers if you just talk to somebody, frankly. First, we're all out for different reasons. Sure, I made some mistakes. My mistake was not finding a job in time, and really not running the freeload on my roommates, like where, I could have done that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these people who have homes, they probably have homes and they don't want people to mooch off them. They feel like they're freeloaders. That's why I'm out here. I decided I'd rather just try to be a man and do it on my own without having to ask them for favors. And, not that they wouldn't have. They could have got a few months, but...
If you had 3 wishes, what would they be?
If I had 3 wishes right here?
3 wishes.
Oh, man. Well, just equality across the board, across humankind, where, people weren't judged from where they come from, that we had a society where,
everybody's treated equally.
Everybody's just treated equally, because we're not. We're not treated equally. We live in a society that judges people, but judges really by what they have.
Yeah.
And we're teaching our kids that that's the way they should live. That the quality, your success in life is determined by your material things, and not how you treat your fellow human being. I would like to see that change.
Wish number 1. Wish number 2.
Wish number 2, that well, for me personally, just that my family and my nieces in particular never ever have to go through something like that, and I don't wish that for any of you that are out there, because I'm sure some of these people have rich families and stuff like that. For whatever reason, you wouldn't want to see your daughter, or your son end up like this. So I just wish that everybody, that they don't, from the future generations don't have to go through this. Hopefully there's some resolution for that.
Housing for everybody. Wish number 3.
And wish number 3, you know what? I'm not really sure. I've never been a big money person. That's probably one of my problems, and a lot of you are gonna hate me for that. I know already.
Yeah.
But I that's probably why, you know, I'm able to keep my head sane this way, because money doesn't freak me out.
Yeah. Oh, cool. 2 wishes.
I guess too. You know,
good.
I just wish everybody best, and you know, everybody could just treat each other with respect, and then come to understanding
I forgot
and help
to
each other
ask.
out.
It's supposed to rain tonight. So if you don't get in your friend's car, what do you do?
Oh yeah, and I'm prepared for that. It looks like I might have lucked out where I might not get some rain till the morning, but I got some. You know, like for someone like me, I have alternate spots with canopies and whatnot.
Okay,
where
so
I could go.
you've got it scoped out. You'll be okay.
Yeah, but I'll be fine.
Okay.
Might be shivering in the morning, but I'll be fine.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Well, thanks, Mark, and thank you for reaching out over here at Venice Beach, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah.